Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Merle Massey. I'm the coordinator of undergraduate research at the University of Saskatchewan. And today we have a presentation on managing your citations, Introduction to Zotero. And our special guest today is Helen Power, who is the engineering and science librarian at the University of Saskatchewan Library. Helen, thanks so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you for having me. So, guess I'll get started. All right. So today I'm going to be talking about Zotero, which is a citation management software. So the very first steps, I did borrow and modify these slides. I want to add, I have a citation at the end from Shannon Lucky, who is a librarian at USask, and I just wanted to full disclosure. Anyway, so the very first steps are to sign up for an account. And I don't know if you want to try to follow along during the session. Usually when I do this in person, I want people to follow along, but it can be a little difficult if you're on your computer watching me versus if you're on your computer doing the stuff while you watch me in person. So if you want, you can try following along. So you can register for a free account on zotero.org and download the Zotero app for your platform. And there's just the link there. And I'll talk a little bit about how to go about downloading it in a minute. But essentially, what is a citation manager? So these are going to be a lifesaver for you if you download one and use it regularly. And essentially, there's multiple purposes for them. But essentially, the main purpose is to organize your references and organize your citations and your PDFs. And I added images to the slide because I actually use it to organize my images as well, which I find I'll talk about a little bit later. So basically, it's a place where you can deposit all of your citations. If you have PDFs from different reports, for instance, or journal articles, you can put them all within the citation manager and you can organize them accordingly. So you can organize them based on what project you need them for, or based on if you've read them or not read them yet. Sometimes I create folders for that to keep track if a lot of the articles are very similar. And you can also use the citation manager to format your in-text citations if you're using Microsoft Word or Google Docs. And you can create any bibliography in any different type of style. So I remember I think I did a similar session for the graduate series workshop. And what happened was somebody had decided they wanted to use Zotero, but then they didn't decide to use it right away. They were like, oh, it's easier. I've basically already finished. So they did their whole project in one citation style, and then they had to convert it to a different citation style. So one of the benefits of using a citation manager is that conversion from, say, APA to Chicago is just like one click of a button, as opposed to you having to go manually through and changing everything. And then that introduces so many opportunities for error as well. And finally, citation managers like Zotero have the opportunity for you to use them to collaborate and share resources. So you can create shared libraries with anybody that you're working on different projects with, and you can see what notes that they've added to the different documents within your citation manager. So there are four main Zotero components that you're going to want to know about. So basically, there's the main Zotero app. So Zotero is a program that you download onto your hard drive, and you can go to this website here and just download that program. But there's also a connector for your web browser, so you have to go into whichever web browser you have. And actually, I think I'll just go to this link here and just show you. Please don't know. I deleted it instead. There we go. So if you just go to this page, it shows you exactly how to do it, and it's very simple. And you can pick out the version for your operating system. So you download the Zotero for your computer, and they have one for Mac as well. And then you download the Zotero connector. So what that is depending on which browser you use, it'll always be visible there. So for me right now, it looks like it's kind of small. I don't know if doing this it'll just make that bigger. But right here is the Zotero connector, and it looks like a sheet of paper right now because I'm on a web page. So the symbol does change depending on what type of page you're on. And that's something that you need to have if you want to use Zotero for its full purposes, basically. There's also the online web dashboard. So even though this is a program that you download onto your computer, you can make an account and sync it to your cloud. And basically you can access everything on the go. So say you mostly use your computer or your laptop, but you need to access your Zotero cloud when you're at school, maybe using one of the library's computers or something like that, you can easily still access all your citations if you've got it synced up. And then finally, there's also a word processor plugin. So I use Microsoft Word, and it's really great because I have some screenshots later on how that works exactly, but you can use it when you're working on your paper to add your citations as you go. So now I'm just going to take you into Zotero because it's like I can talk about it until the cows come home, but actually seeing it's going to be a lot easier to understand what I'm talking about. So this is basically Zotero, and I do have it fully used, and this is what it looks like for me. But basically, this is the main platform. So this is the kind of menu along the side here, and then this is my reading area, and then this is just the extra information. So this is my library basically. So anytime you upload any citation into Zotero, everything will be found in my library. But along the side here, I've got different folders. And so I use folders to sort through basically my different projects. And it's important to note that within Zotero, it does call them folders, but they're not really folders. They're more like, say, song playlists. So this is my music library. And I can just add the different articles to all these different folders that they apply to, but I'm not actually duplicating copies of the article. So if I were to say go into here, and if I wanted to say delete one of these, I could delete it either from this specific playlist, so this folder, I could remove item from collection, or I could move item to trash. So moving item to trash would delete it completely. So from my hard drive entirely. So I created this Sure session one just to show you a couple of different, there's a couple of different articles that I have downloaded. So basically, if I look at this, it's a scoping review on scoping reviews. I'm just going to make it bigger here. So it tells me all the information that it pulled from the website when I downloaded it. And this little symbol here is a paperclip, and it's got a little dot there. So what that means is it's telling me if I have the actual PDF of this article on my computer, and I do have that. So for instance, if you find good citations that you can't actually access the PDF for yet, you can still add them to your library so that you can maybe remember to look at them later, especially if you're doing a more advanced project. You want to make sure you're getting every article that's relevant to your topic, not just the ones that you can easily access. So it just tells me here if I have it downloaded. And it's handy too because I can take a look at the abstract along the side here and all of the citation information. Now I do want to note that depending on the specific journal that you got the article from, if it's an older journal especially, some of this citation information may be incomplete. So you do want to make sure that it's got all the information. So for example, I often notice that the issue number might get dropped depending on how the different journals have done their metadata on their website. So Zotero can't collect this information if it's not available to them, right? So you want to make sure that this information is correct. And sometimes page ranges can be inaccurate. And if you're in, say, the sciences, for example, there might be a lot of authors, and Zotero might not actually capture every author. So that's something you want to double check as well before you do your create your bibliography later on. So there's a couple of great features along the side here. So this is just the info for this article, but I want to point out there's also notes. So you can add different notes for your article based on whatever project you're working on. So for instance, if you're reading, say, 5 to 10 different articles on the same topic, and you find some interesting things in specific articles, you can add that note there so you know exactly which article you need to be citing when you're writing your actual paper, which is really helpful because, like, I don't know about you, but sometimes you'll write down a note and you're like, that's genius. Is it my idea? Did I get it from my article? I have no memory of that. So you'll know exactly where you need to end up citing. There's also this tags feature here. So a lot of the times Zotero, when it collects an article from a website, and I'll show you how to do that later, it'll have some built-in tags already. So you can actually add your own tags. So let's say you're working on, a literature review and you're like, oh, this article would be great for my literature review. Sometimes I'll create a new playlist or folder to put that article in, but you could also tag it with something like that for your own purposes. There's also the related feature, which I generally don't use. It's a little bit fancier, but you can use that as well to add specific articles that are related to the specific article that you're looking at. So one thing too I want to point out is that you can create an account on the website. So I'll just show you right here. So I've created this account and I basically logged in. You can see all my articles here. So it basically kind of looks the same. This is just the web platform version of it. And what you can do is you can, once you've created your account, you can sync it. So there's this little button here that allows me to sync my, I'm just going to stop that just because it might be slow, which can sync this to my other devices. So if you wanted to say have Zotero on your iPad as well, you could always sync it up. All right. I think I'm just going to show you now just how to get articles in here. There's lots of different ways that you can do that. So basically, I'm just going to go into the library's USearch and just kind of show you how to do it. And depending on what database you're using, it's a lot easier than other databases. So let's just say I'm searching for, health literacy and on the internet. So if I just do this search, and I'm going to zoom in a little because I don't know how small it's showing up for you. So I might find a couple of articles that I think are of interest to me. What you can do is what you have to do is you have to actually go into the article to download it. So for instance, right here, if I were to click on this article and then try to download this Zotero, it wouldn't actually capture the print or the PDF, sorry, of this article. It just captures all the bibliographic data. So what you want to do is you want to actually go to the official website. So if I were to go into Zotero right now, see, I downloaded this citation and I've got all the information, but you can see right here, this is the kicker. It doesn't have the PDF full text yet. So I just go in here and then I will go to the official website for the article. And I assume you all know how to go about doing this at this point. And then what I can do, so I don't actually have to scroll through and search for the PDF myself. I just click on this button and what it will do is it will download the PDF for me. And you can see right here, it's got the grayed out full text PDF. That's because it's in the process of downloading. And if I want, I could pick a different folder that I want it to go to, but I do want it to go to the Sure Session folder. I just can press enter there and it will download. And if I go here, oh, it looks like it's still downloading very slowly. My computer is slow today, apparently. I'm going to try that again. But if it doesn't work, I can show you how to make it. Oh, there we go. So it's got that there. So now, as you can see, I have 2 copies now, so I could just delete the previous copy. Or there's this cool feature that they have here called duplicate items. So it will show you whichever versions that you have 2 of. So what I could just do is take a look, make sure that's the same copy, and then I can just click merge 2 items and it merges them for me. So I don't actually have to do that. And then I go back to this folder and I just have that 1 copy of that 1 article. So another thing that you could do, so a lot of you might already have a ton of PDFs on your computer and there's nothing to worry about. It's really easy to do that as well. So if I just were to go, I'm just going to quickly download a PDF so that I could show you what to do with it. Actually, maybe I'll use a different article since I already have this one on my Zotero right now. It was a little slow today. Probably maybe because I have WebEx open. It's working eventually. Okay, so I'm just going to download that PDF and I'll show you what to do if you have, say you already have a bunch of folders of PDFs on your computer, what you should do with that. So this is the article I just downloaded. So it's actually really, really easy. So you can just click and drag the article into your Zotero. And what Zotero will do is it will recognize the article and it'll actually crawl the article and look for all the citation information. So that file was just called LICT 2011 Health Literacy. But you look right here and it's got all the information pulled from the article. But again, some of it might be incorrect because it was just pulling it from the article itself. And it didn't pull stuff like the abstract, for instance, because it was grabbing the stuff from the article. So what you can do is you can do that for all of the different articles that you have downloaded on your computer, and you can easily just put them all into Zotero. And what it does is it does duplicate that file. So it will create a copy within its system files. So I actually don't even need to hang on to that original version anymore. It's already, it's saved within Zotero itself. So you can delete all the other stuff. And so it's handy too, because it will keep track when I make edits and changes and stuff. And also if I were to say want to edit the file, if you have Adobe where you can actually edit different PDFs and you can save it, you can override your save and it will have all those comments and things within the PDF itself if you have that feature. I don't think I have Adobe that I can edit on my computer, unfortunately, to show you. All right, so that's just basically how to do within, I'm just gonna sign in actually, within here, but I'll show you also if you wanted to, where's the feature here? So let's say you wanted to save a bunch of citations, but you don't necessarily need the actual PDFs of the articles. So like if you're working on any kind of scoping or systematic review, or maybe you're just creating a reading list and you want to take a look at them later, what you can do is you can click select. And now this is something you can do in any database. So I'm just showing you within the library USearch, but every database has this feature, but it's sometimes a little hard to find. Like, so basically I just selected say 10 articles here, and then I can click right here and it says export. So I can export these citations into different formats. So for Zotero, what you want to use is RIS files. So what we'll do right here is just click export as RIS, and then I guess download. And so it'll download as an RIS file. And so what I can just do is just go here and double click, and it'll be like, do you want to import the file into your Zotero? And one thing I like about it is it says import into a new collection. So if you decide you don't want it, you can just easily delete all of them, as opposed to if it was just saving them in your library, then you would have to go through and find them all. So I'll just click yes, and it might take a little bit of time for it to process, but you see now I have all these citations in here, but no, I don't actually have the full text. So what you could do is go through them, read through the abstract, be like, oof, I don't like that, and then I could just, move item to the trash and then move on. It's just a cool way of downloading multiple citations.
Helen, there's a couple of questions that came in on the chat.
Oh, sure.
One said, I downloaded Zotero, but I didn't make an account first. Does that matter that I did it the other way around?
Nope, it doesn't matter at all. You can actually just go into your Zotero, or you can make your account. I think you have to make it on the computer. So you can just go into zotero.org and make the account. And then you can actually go in here and log in. So I think it's under preference. It's hard. It's a stupid place to find. Sometimes I have to Google it to find it because I'm usually signed in. So basically you go to edit and then preferences, and then you click sync, and then you can link your account to whatever your username and password is.
Awesome. And then the big question is always, have you used other citation managers like Mendeley? And if so, what makes Zotero better?
Sure. So I did use Mendeley like a long time ago, but then I decided to use Zotero when I went to grad school the second time. I was like, I'm going to try something new. But I do know from people who currently use Mendeley that it has a lot of great features, but it does have it's not as great with the customer support. So if you have any issues, if you have questions, and you reach out to them, they will never get back to you apparently. And that's a reason why we're kind of the library scaling back our support of Mendeley a little bit, just because well, it's a free software. It's owned by a company, so theoretically the company should be providing that support and the library shouldn't have to be providing that support. So we've been scaling back our support on that one a little bit. Zotero, on the other hand, is open source. And if you have any questions about something really obscure that you want to do with Zotero, you can always Google it. And there's almost always either a forum discussing that really obscure idea that you have, or some video explaining how to go about doing it. And since it's open source, you don't really have to worry about it ever going obsolete. So if, say, Mendeley got purchased by a different company, they might change it a lot, or they might, discontinue support for it. So you don't really know exactly what will happen with support for that, unfortunately. And
And
EndNote is, sorry?
oh no, go ahead. And
Oh, no,
EndNote.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, so EndNote has two versions. So there's the basic, which is for desktop or for your within your browser, and that one's free. But there is EndNote Desktop, which you can purchase. But I think they're constantly evolving it, so you do have to purchase new versions every now and then. And I've never really used EndNote, but it does sync nicely with Web of Science because it's owned by the same company. So if I mean, if you try, I would say try the free, easy one first. And then if you do think that you need a different platform, try one of the other programs. And one thing actually to consider as well is if you're working in if you're working directly with your supervisor or with, say, some grad students who are already using a platform, find out which platform they're using, just because if you want to have it easily synced with them, you'd want to be using the same platform. So if
That's a really,
your
really good
supervisor
point.
is using, yeah. So if your supervisor is using EndNote, then you should probably be using EndNote if you want to be able to access their online libraries.
We have a question specifically around what you've just been doing around going in and importing a
Mhm.
number of pieces of information from each of those things. And the question is, after importing that citation list, do you have to find each individual article to get the PDFs then for the ones that you do want?
Not necessarily, well, you do kind of, but basically what it did was it saved the link. So it's actually really easy for me to go about doing that. So I just double clicked on this random article and it brought me to the page. So what I could do is just click this now and it would save the PDF for me ideally. And if not, I can just, this link not working. Oh, it's because I did a snapshot, is it? Where's my computer frozen? Just a sec. And of course the thing is popping up on this on the top there, so I can't actually click anything. WebEx tries to be handy with its little toolbar. I know that you guys can't see it, but it's annoying for me.
Helen, if
I,
you want to turn off your video, that might help. It might give your computer a little bit more power.
okay. Yeah, maybe I should do that. Okay. Let me just go back up here. Stop video. There we go. All right, yeah, so it's working now because I can click on things on the article. So basically I can just download the article and it will add the PDF. Enter. Should go into my Primo RAS export. I didn't change the name of that file. Okay. Oh no. Computer doesn't have the file on the bottom anymore. I hope my computer doesn't crash. That would be really embarrassing. So I did accidentally click it 3 times, which is fine because I can merge all 3. So I'll just go to the duplicate items and then merge. But you can see here, it shouldn't take that long. You guys can still hear me, right?
Yes, we sure can. You're
Okay,
doing
just
great.
making sure because my computer is acting up and it never does that. Okay, so let me just go back to Primo RAS export. So if I want to change the name, I can just right click and rename the program. So I'm just going to call it testing so I remember to delete it later. After these sessions, I always have all these random articles that have nothing to do with my research interests in my Zotero. And sometimes I'll just stare at them blankly for a few minutes before I remember. So yeah, so now it's got the little dot there under the paperclip, which tells me that I have the PDF now. So now if I double click it, it will bring me to the PDF instead of to the website. So that's one handy thing about it is that it will hang on to the link that I got it from. So you might be asked to sign in with your NSID and password in order to access the link, but it'll bring you here and then you can download the PDF if you want. Also, I was thinking something now. I think I lost it. I think it's gone. I can't remember what I was going to say. Okay. Are there any other questions about that?
Yes, there was. Thanks,
Mhm.
Helen and Merle, for this introduction. I've downloaded Zotero, but it keeps forgetting the configuration when I want to save it on my browser. It does not appear in my account. Is there an article for this issue? I'm going to say probably.
Yeah, there probably is. I'm not really sure what you mean exactly for configuring your account. Did you download the extension for your browser as well as the actual program itself? Okay. That's interesting. I would try Googling that and seeing, because like there's often random technological issues, maybe you might want to try uninstalling the program and then reinstalling the program and then opening it up and making that account. And then once you have the extension, it should work. It might be possible that you downloaded the version for the wrong, like 32-bit versus 64-bit. I'm not really sure what that means, but it might cause some issues if you didn't get the correct version.
There's another question that came in.
Mhm.
If you've put PDFs of articles on your computer organized by Zotero, can you access those PDFs from outside Zotero?
Yes, you can. It actually looks really, it's really hard to find them though. So what you want to do is you want to right click and then, there's a button for that. There's like a show within, I might actually have to, oh, show in library. Oh no, show in library. And then there's usually a button where it says show within system files. And why can't I find that right now? I'm gonna have to Google it in front of everyone. Yeah, so basically it'll take you to where it is in here, and it actually is really hard to find. And the folders, it's like folders upon folders, and they are all labeled with obscure like strings of letters. Let me just here find PDF system files. It'll tell you how to do that. Double clicking the item. Okay, you right click and click view PDF. Did I not say that? Oh no, view online. Whoops. Oh, because I don't have the PDF for that specific article. That's why it didn't show up. Gosh, I'm stupid sometimes. Okay. So
No, you're
click
not. You're just talking to a lot of people really quick. That's okay.
So I clicked show and file. So it's because I didn't have the PDF downloaded for that specific article, but basically it's usually quite easy. So show file, so it shows you within the system files. So then, so this is where it is. So it's within Zotero storage, and then it's like UE64. So you wouldn't be able to find it on your own, but doing it within Zotero is easier. But you can actually export lists. So if you wanted to, so like I just highlighted all of these articles and they all have a PDF, so that should be good. So there's a couple of actually cool things you can do. So I could just copy a bibliography super quick. And basically what that would do, if I just open Microsoft Word super quick, I could just paste the bibliography. So like if somebody's like, oh, what are you looking at? You could just send them this bibliography and it'll make you look super smart. And you can also, if you go within edit and then preferences, you can change what your preferred citation style is. So it will do that automatically. So if you want to say American Sociological Association, 6th edition, I don't know. APA is usually the one I go with. But you can also click here. I want to show you as well. You can get additional styles. So if you're submitting to a journal that has their own style, there's actually 10,000 different styles within this library. So the odds are you're going to be able to find it. So you can just search for the title of the journal, find that style, and then you can use that style. So you don't actually have to do any of that manually. So I think I answered
To
that
me,
question.
that's 100% the best reason to use Zotero.
Oh, definitely. Because converting different styles, even like, because I did a project with a co-author who didn't want to use Zotero, and we submitted back when they were using the previous version of APA, and then now it's the new version, and I had to go through and manually do it. I should have made her do it since she wouldn't let us use Zotero. I should have been like, this is your punishment, but I'm too nice. I just did it myself. Um, all right. Is there any other questions that have come up, or?
There are a few comments around, mine just says show file, same Kylie, I'm going to uninstall and reinstall. I'm like, where, oh, and then where has this been all my life? Thank you. Yes, I'm in the same boat, Kylie. I did, Zotero is a game changer, I think. Or any kind of citation manager. I think there's just been a few background things around people just trying to download Zotero
Okay.
so that they can play around with it. But otherwise, you can keep going.
Sure. All right. So I also wanted to show you the group libraries feature as well. So this is something that if you want to create a group library, so that's just, collaborating with other people on a collection. So if you want to do that, you actually can't actually create a new group library within Zotero. You have to go to the online program. So you just go into you're logged in Zotero, once you've made an account, you can just click on groups and you can take a look at the different groups that you've created. And then you can invite people to share with you, and then you can add it into your Zotero here. So right here, if I look here, these are some articles from a group project I was working on. And so basically, if somebody else puts an article in there, you'll be able to see it too, which is really cool. I kind of already talked about the local files on the computer. So I'm
Do
going
all
to
of
show
the
you.
other people, if you do a group library, Kyla, sorry, Helen, just wondering, does everybody else have to have Zotero as well, or can they contribute to a group library just from the web invitation?
Yeah, they could, well, they would have to make an account within Zotero to access it, but they could easily just use, they don't have to necessarily download it onto their hard drive. So they could, like if I went into my group library right here, they can see all the files here, right?
Right, makes sense. All right,
Yes,
thanks.
I think if I clicked on it, yeah, it would take, oh, it just took me here. And I can go in and then access the PDF. But oftentimes, like if your co-researcher doesn't want to download Zotero, they don't want to do anything, so they won't make the account either. So it's a little bit of a hit and miss. So, and I mean, you could download more than one program. So if you're using one with your researcher, you could, or with your supervisor, for instance, you could use that program. Say if they're on EndNote, you could use EndNote Basic for working with them, and then you could try a different program for something else. So like at one point I had two different Zotero accounts, one for my personal, like my blog and stuff, so I could hang on to all my different stuff that I was saving, versus my work one. But now I just got rid of my personal one because I'm using my home computer all the time. But so like there's different things that you can try out. I also wanted to show you too. So what I did too, like I mentioned before, you could use it for PDFs. You can use it for snapshots of websites as well, which is really useful. So if you're saving, if you're say citing, say, I'm not going to say Wikipedia page. Why did that pop into my head? But like say the page of, you know, some website like the WHO's website, their information on say COVID-19, for instance. If you add that, even though you already, like you can add that to Zotero so you can cite it easily, but also it'll take a snapshot of that website in that space and time so that you know you can refer to it later, say, well, you know, when I cited this article or cited this web page, this is what it looked like, and they've edited it since then, so you can actually still see and hang on to that. But another great feature too is I use it for saving my different images. So if I'm using images for presentations, a lot of you know if you're using images for presentations, you want to cite those images, so you want to add the URL, right? But that can be really difficult if you've just got, you know, a folder on your computer with a bunch of pictures saved into it. So like for instance, here for this image, if I double click on it, it'll bring me to the website, but I've also got the URL here, easy to save. Oh, it's black. Oh, it's because it's not uploading. There's the little image icon, so it's not working. There we go. That's fine. What's my computer being this way? View online. Okay, there we go. So it worked this time. Let's see. I think it was opening with I wonder if Microsoft Edge weaseled its way back into being my default browser again. Anyway, so yeah, so that's how you can go about saving different images. And one thing I want to mention too that I found really useful when I was on the job hunt was if you're looking at different job ads, a lot of times they take them down off the website after the closing date. And then if you get an interview, you're expected to know exactly what you're supposed to be able to do for that job. And, you know, like tailor, you know, your interview questions to exactly what they want you to be able to do or what skills that they've highlighted the most within the job ad. So sometimes you really want to hang on to those job ads. So I found using Zotero, I would take snapshots of those web pages so that I could access them later if I did get an interview, even when they took down those web pages. Stuff like that, it's really useful to hang on to those web pages, even if I'm not planning on citing them for anything, but just having access to a web page after it's been taken down. I don't know if there's any questions about that, but I can also show you how to use Google Scholar. So Google Scholar is a little bit different. I don't know, let's just do that search. In the sense that it does have a lot of the PDFs right at the top level. So if I were to click right here, so right here, you see my Zotero symbol. It doesn't look like a web page anymore. It looks like a folder. And it's because it recognizes that there's a bunch of different articles that it can actually crawl from this website. So if I wanted, I could just take a few of these and then add them to, I added them to my images for presentations. Let's just move that testing instead. And then press enter. And then if I go to my testing folder, they'll be there. But one thing to note is that Google Scholar, if you try to do too many pages in the same day, it will time you out. But I don't know how many pages it will time you out at, because I've done a few like systematic reviews where you're trying to be very transparent and rigorous about exactly which articles that you've downloaded or which articles you received from that search. And so Google Scholar will not let you access articles anymore for that day, and then you have to try again another day. But it's not very transparent about how many articles that you can try to get within Google Scholar. So you might want to be a little bit more careful about that, and you can always just click in to the article itself. I mean, the odds are you want to check out the abstract before you decide that you want to download an article, and then you can just click save the article, and it will give you the full text if it's available. So if you have any citations that you'd like to add also to your library that are maybe older, that don't necessarily have maybe a really old journal article from a journal from, say, the 1960s, or maybe if you have a book, you can also add things manually. I don't know, oops. Oh, there, it's gone now. Okay, so you can add items here. So this is just like a magic wand. It's very old-fashioned looking magic wand, if you're wondering what that symbol is supposed to be. But you can add, say, by ISBN or DOI. So DOI is the digital object identifier. So theoretically, every journal article is assigned a DOI. So if you were to copy and paste that DOI, Zotero would search the internet and get all that citation information for you. And ISBN would be for a book. So that's particularly useful because, I mean, you're not going to have a PDF of a book to add to your library, but you're going to want to be citing a book that you're reading for whatever project you're working on. So you can add that ISBN in here and it will add it to your collection. Oops. Yeah. You can also add things manually. So you can, so I would use that as a last resort. But you can basically say click journal article and you could type in all this information yourself for whatever article that you randomly found. Just going to delete that. Move item to trash. Okay. I think I saw a question, but I didn't read it fast enough. I'm just going to open the chat. Okay, so somebody saw archive. Okay, so it's spelled ARXIV. And basically that's an online repository where people can drop off preprints. So articles that they've submitted to journals, I think in the subject areas of mathematics and computer science and those subject areas. And so it's an online open access database, so you can easily access those. I'm not sure where you saw archive. Was it mentioned in here? Oh, it was, yeah. So any article that's deposited within archive will be given its own ID. So if you were to just type in that archive ID, so like that URL that will be unique to that specific article that's deposited in archive, then it would scrape that information for you. And I think PM IDs, I think that's PubMed ID. And so that's the same thing. So any article that's in the database PubMed, if you just put that PubMed ID in there, it'll find all the information for you. So those are just unique identifiers for specific articles or books. I think I saw some more questions too, actually. For archive, mostly they have not been peer reviewed yet, but I think sometimes they will put the peer reviewed afterwards, but they have to get permission from their publishers. So if you're doing research within archive, you'd want to be a little bit more careful about that, just making sure that it's been peer reviewed. Yeah, you're welcome. I don't know if there's any other questions. So where do I find the ISBN in my hard copy textbook? I think usually it's in, I think it's usually in, you know, that front, when you open the book, there's all this copyright information and random information. It should be there, but if it's not there, if you do go just search for your textbook on Amazon and you scroll down a little bit, there will be an ISBN there too. So you can just copy and paste that. That might actually be easier than trying to type it out from looking at your textbook. Just go to Amazon, find the correct edition of your textbook, and then you can just copy and paste that ISBN there.
One thing to watch with the ISBNs is that it does make a difference if it's the physical publication. That ISBN is slightly different than if it's a PDF ebook or an EPUB ebook. I'm just looking at my own book that was published in 2014, and it has 3 ISBN numbers, which I didn't know that was that. But yeah, I'm looking right at them, so I know it's a thing.
Yeah, yeah, they do that, and I don't really know why it's necessary when it's the same content, but just
Yeah,
scrolling through the
and different
questions.
between softcover, hardcover, ebook, EPUB, PDF. They're all different. It's very weird.
Mhm. It is very weird. Okay, so I think I've answered all the questions. I'm just scrolling through. Okay, all right. So I showed you Google Scholar. I could also go into Scopus if that's of interest. I have that on my list of possible places to check out. That sound good to you? I'm just going to do it.
Absolutely. Yes, sounds good.
Okay. So basically, any database you can do, you can get information from for Zotero. Whether it's easy, like you can just highlight the articles that you want and add it to Zotero, or if you have to download as an RAS file. So I'm just opening Scopus right now. So I'm just going to do a random search again. I think book literacy on the internet. So I found a bunch of articles here. So like if I wanted to just get this single article PDF for my Zotero, again, what flashing there? Okay. Again, what you'd have to do is actually go to the website or go to the page that would have the PDF so that Zotero can access it, because Zotero can't do multiple clicks to get the PDF. So it might take a little bit extra work, but here what I can do is just click and then add it to my testing folder, and then it will save that PDF and then press enter. But, oops, I almost closed the wrong one. So if I just want to go back, let's say if I wanted to do kind of the same thing where I was doing before, where I wanted to add a bunch of different citations. So let's say I want, all of these, or I could just highlight all of them. Let's do that. Select page. And then I can click export and it'll bring me here. So there's the different places that I can export it to. So RAS format, again, is the version that you want to use for Zotero. And then I could ask for all of the citation information. And maybe I might want to also get abstract and keywords as well. I really like how Scopus has all these options for me. So maybe I want everything. Let's just take it all. All right, and export. And so then I'll export it as an RAS file. Oh, and it's actually saving it to my testing folder instead. That's interesting. That might take a while. I just did this page, right? I didn't do all. There might be a regret there if I did that. Okay, it looks like it's saving all my stuff in here. And that is why I'm glad that I created a folder just for this so I can delete it all easily later. All right. So
That
yeah,
raises
it's
the
all
next
in here.
question, actually. Have you ever run into storage space issues with the Citation Manager?
Yeah, so Zotero does only have, I can't remember how much is free, but it's not quite that big, unfortunately. But you can continue to save onto your hard drive. It just won't continue to sync the full text onto the cloud. So yeah. So like right now, it's probably gonna get mad at me because my Zotero is already pretty full. Yeah, so I don't think it's probably not syncing to the cloud right now, unfortunately. And there's oops, where did that go? Get that back. Okay. I don't know. I clicked that. Um, So what you might want to do, there's different things that you can do as well. So if you go into edit and then preferences, when you click on sync, you can actually have it not sync the attachment files. So like this is a good idea, especially if you wanted to use Zotero on, say, your phone or your iPad or whatever, or your tablet or something, just because it can take up a lot of space if you don't have that much space on your devices. But you could actually make it not sync the attachment files, and then you won't have the trouble with the PDFs not with the PDFs taking up too much space on your file. And as you know before, like if I were to click on this article here, it would bring me to the website anyway, so I could access the PDF easily if the PDF is available to me. So it brought me to this web page, and I can click on the Find It at the publishers page.
That's really handy.
Yeah, and
Helen,
especially because a lot of these databases, especially like because I downloaded a whole bunch of citations at once, and the reason why they don't want you to be able to download the PDF that easily with a citation manager is because they're worried about people, taking a whole bunch of them and putting them online for free, stuff like that. So they want to make it a little bit, have a couple of roadblocks in the way to prevent people from being able to access the PDFs for multiple articles at the same time. So that's why this is actually why you have to do those extra clicks, basically. Sorry, did you have another question?
that makes sense. Farah asked, can you show how to add in-text citations and bibliography to Word?
Yes, that's actually, I have some screenshots in here and I kind of forgot about that, but basically I can show you. I'm not sure if I have it in here right now. Of course, that is in the way again. Oh, there we go. Okay, so I'm just gonna close that. So let's say I'm working on an article. So, this is driving me nuts. I'm just gonna put it like this. I know it looks weird to you, but that thing keeps popping up at the top. So this is the Zotero plugin, which I have on my computer. And a lot of times when you download the, seriously, let's just do it like that. There we go. So a lot of times when you download the Zotero program, it will automatically put the Zotero in your as a plugin in your Microsoft Word. But if it doesn't do that, you can just Google download plugin for Microsoft Word, and it will give it to you. So basically, there's a few ways to do it. So say according to blah, and then blah. Okay, so that's my the thing I want to cite. So what I can do is click add or edit citation. So if I click on that, and it's going to ask me what citation style I want, and I want that citation style. So what you can do here is it gives this little box to you, and so you start typing in the name of the author. So let's just say Mulan. And it will find the article for you, and I can just click on that and then press enter, and it puts the citation in there for you. So, and if you wanted to do it at the beginning of a sentence, so this way, let's say Mulan, I could say according to Mulan, blah blah blah. So depending on whatever citation style. And then you can type it in. And so the reason why you want to do that is because it recognizes that these are citations. So then when I go to the very end and click add or edit bibliography, it went through my article, identified which articles I have cited, and then adds them to my citation list at the very end. So you know how, Merle, you probably know what I'm talking about, but it's like when you go through the article and you're like, okay, which articles have I cited? Make sure I don't accidentally have articles in my bibliography that I did not cite and vice versa. And it's just such a pain. This does it all for you automatically, and you can constantly be updating your bibliography as well.
Or if you've got multiple articles by the same author, really handy.
Oh yeah, for sure. So
And spelling them all. Yeah, exactly.
exactly. And so what you want to do for sure is make sure if because sometimes Zotero does get some of the information wrong. So make sure that you're actually changing the information within here, just because if you have to change citation style later, it'll all be automatic and you don't have to go back through and change things. So for instance, I mentioned sometimes the issue number might get dropped. So if the issue number gets dropped, you go and you add it within Zotero so that you'll have it also for future citations. So if you wanted to cite the same paper in multiple projects, for instance, having this information be correct will really save you a lot of time just going through it manually. You don't have to go through it manually. That's pretty cool. I don't know if there's any questions about that.
I don't think so. I think there was a whole lot of, man, that looks so amazing.
It's pretty awesome.
Say Nealon published multiple relevant articles in the same year, possibly with different collaborators. Does Zotero automatically make Neon et al. 2021 A, B, C, etc. then?
I'm pretty sure it does because that's the citation style that it does. And I think it might, so if it's in the same year, okay, I think that's the way that APA works, right? Because
Yeah, with
so if
A,
you've
B, and
got
C, I agree.
over however many, so if it wasn't like, you know, two authors, if it was two authors, it would be easy because you have to cite both. You could try that out and see. I don't know if I have any other, actually, you know what? I'll never be able to find it, but I'm fairly sure that it does do that because that happened for me for web pages in particular. If you're citing, you know, say a bunch of different web pages from the World Health Organization and they've all been updated in say 2021, it does do that. It does do that letter for you.
Awesome. She says, no worries, I'll play with it on my end. And thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Because I do remember, because I did it for a couple of web pages. It hasn't really come up for me for articles, but it would be about the same thing. I
And
think
that's
this
a
is
pretty amazing scientist to come through that many, to publish that many in a year, but it does happen.
especially as first author, right?
Yeah.
I think I've pretty much covered everything that I have on my notes. I kind of jumped around a bit, but that's to be expected. I can't stick to a script.
And there was questions coming in and you just jumped around and answered them, which was just great. It made it very interactive for the students. I'm going to stop the recording, but if anyone still has questions that they want to pop in, we can do so. Thanks very much for joining us today, Helen. This was a great overview, an interactive overview of what to do with Zotero. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you for having me.